Hello everyone, my name is Blake from Zero Latency Holland. I'm back with another track guide for this week's league race, and this time I thought I would go through and explain in a little bit of detail what the car is going to be like this week. We're going to be driving the Praga R1. Now it's probably not a car many of you have heard of. If I were to describe it, it's much more like a prototype car than it is like the touring cars that we've been using in past league nights. So, a little bit of information on this car. It only generates 200 horsepower, which isn't much compared to our previous cars, but it only weighs, it says 585 kilograms. That's about 1,300 pounds. So, very light for a race car, and it generates a lot of downforce. So, it's going to be very, very fun to handle, very easy through the curves. You can really, throw it in there, a lot of entry speed, and it has, all the grip in the world. It'll take it. So without further ado, let's get onto the track. Okay, so now that we're on track, we're going to go corner by corner. And I thought, since we're trying something new, that maybe I would try and teach what not to do around Sebring. Because when I was practicing this track myself, I found myself, instead of thinking, oh, I should do this, I should do that, I found myself saying, oh, I shouldn't do that anymore, or I shouldn't do this. So we're going to try something new, and there's a couple corners where there are things that might seem a little bit obvious that you might think that you should do that you really shouldn't. So coming up to turn 1, we're going to be in 6th gear and braking just about a car length before the wall ends on the right, only going down into 4th gear. We have plenty of grip in this car to bring us towards the inside and keep the power down through turn 1 because the track is nice and wide, so you can take a nice and wide exit. Coming into kind of this twisty section here, usually brake around that 200 board and down into 2nd. And just a nice sharp corner. It's pretty narrow. So here's maybe what you shouldn't do. Because coming through that last corner, you might just let the car walk out a little bit wide because the track's narrow, you're trying to go fast through this slow section. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to find that this corner here, this left-hander really tightens on you, and you weren't expecting it, and you're going to fly off the track onto the dirt, going across the curbs, losing all your time. So here's instead what you maybe should do. So we're back at the corner before the turn that I'm talking about, and you'll actually just want to keep it to the right. Keep the car to the right, and you see it turning into the left, and just take a really late entry like this. That's usually what you want to do for corners that tighten up on you, is take a nice late entry. So then, after we've gotten through that section, we can just keep it flat on the gas through here, keep it towards the inside, let it walk out a little bit. Towards the left, we're going to be braking right before the 300 board there, hard on the brakes into 2nd gear, and we have a hairpin going to the right. Now, here's what you maybe shouldn't do, is let the car walk itself to the outside, because you can see the outside of the track kind of comes back at you. So you really don't want to walk the car out to the outside too much because you're going to be going over this curb and into the dirt once again. So here's how to take this hairpin cleanly. Like I said, braking right before the 300 foot board down into 2nd gear, and you really just want to take this hairpin slower than you would think you want to. And that just helps you keep it to the inside. Don't walk it to the outside. You've got a nice straight shot through this little S section here, and you're all good to go. So out of the hairpin, we're going to be going through a couple of fast corners, so just keeping it towards the inside, minimizing the amount of space that we take up on the track, and we're going to be braking right before the 300 board once again. And here's what you maybe shouldn't do. Now, you have a lot of grip in this car, and you're going pretty slow at this point, so maybe you just want to cut a little bit of the track and take a lot of this curb. Well, this curb's pretty high. Now, if you took this at full speed, you would probably lose all of your grip and, worst case scenario, take yourself to the outside of this turn. So here's what you should do for this corner. Just keep it off the curbs. You're going to be going pretty slow. It's a 90-degree corner. It's pretty narrow at this point. Just keep it off the curbs. Keep it off the exit curbs as well. The car has enough grip to take that little left-hander at full speed. So, coming out of that turn, we have plenty of grip to take that corner flat, and we'll just keep it towards the inside, braking right before the curb starts on the left. And just a nice second gear corner. Nothing spectacular about that one. And here's maybe something you shouldn't do. Now, you see those boards on the left would maybe indicate that we're going to be going to the left pretty soon. And in fact, you can see the wall in the background kind of curves that way. So maybe you would want to keep yourself to the left to try and kind of cut this corner right when it starts. Well, as you can see, the corner juts back out to the right on entry. So to take this from the left, you'd probably end up going a lot more straight than you would hope. Now here's how to take this little kink here. Just keep it to the right and swoop yourself through. So coming out of that corner, we're going to be braking right after the 300 board down into second. And just keeping the car to the inside. Still keeping the car to the inside. And go to the outside as much as you can. Really swoop in for this corner. Take a lot of exit curb. And we are onto our final straight and final corner as well. So we have a long right-hander coming up, and instead of teaching you what not to do, I'm just going to teach you what to do, because there's probably a lot that could go wrong. So this corner took me quite a few tries to get right, but here's what I've found. I've gone a little bit past it. This 100 foot, yard, meter board, not quite sure, on an American track. I brake pretty much right at it, and I go down from 6th to about 3rd, and I'm hard on the brakes, and there's this line right here, and I just kind of straddle it. So I'm on the outside of the turn now. The car has plenty of grip. I'm, lifting off the gas at this point, and just walking it towards the inside, and the track kind of tightens on the exit, so I let it walk out to the outside, but not too far. I don't want to clip those tire barriers, and once I take the lap in full speed, I think that turn will make a little bit more sense. So, with all that said, why don't I take the lap in full speed? And we're coming on to our flying lap here. So, up into 6th gear, braking just before the wall ends on the right, down into 4th. I'm already back on the gas here. Nice wide exit here. Track is very wide there. Braking right around 200, down into 2nd. Keep it to the left, keep it to the right, so that we can get a nice sweeping late entry for the tightening corner here. Back on the gas. Just keep it to the inside. And we're going to let it drift out a little bit before we turn in for the hairpin. Right before the 300 board. Down into 2nd. Really slow speed through here. Don't let it walk out on the exit. Keeping it flat through these fast corners. Flat on the gas. And again, braking just before the 300 board. Making sure to keep off of the curves. And it's okay to let it get to the left before that left-hander. We've got plenty of grip. So down into 2nd here, right before the curbing started on the left. And we'll just walk it towards the middle, a little bit towards the right, and just take it flat on the gas like that. A little after the 300 board here, down into 2nd. And just a little stab of the brakes before this right-hander. Take plenty of exit curb there. And we are on to the final corner here. A little bit tricky to get right. It takes a bit of practice, but you can gain or lose a lot of time. Right at the 100 board, center of the road. down into third, straddle that line on the outside, bring it back towards the inside wall, back on the power, and let it walk towards the outside. Not too far, don't want to hit the tire barriers. And that is a clean lap of Sebring. 2:12, not my best time, but pretty good. So that was my guide for Sebring. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next guide.